Hi, I'm Jay Richards with the Discovery Institute, and we're at COSM 2021. We've just finished a very interesting and somewhat argumentative panel, actually, with Bob Metcalfe, the entrepreneur, the co-inventor of Ethernet, and the professor now at the University of Texas for about a decade. Bob, it's so good to meet you. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I have to say, because I referred to Metcalfes Law, which is of course named after you, and you just told me. So George Gilder apparently initially coined this, right?
You're not allowed to name laws after yourself.
Right, of course.
So I got George to name it.
That's the way you do it. Yeah. So what is Metcalfes Law?
The value of a network grows as the square of the number of attachments or people or users.
Okay, so it's a type of exponential growth, not Moore's Law, which applies to microprocessors, but this applies to networks.
And since I'm a mathematician,
yes.
I have to correct you.
Right.
It's not exponential, it's quadratic.
Okay, there you go. Yes, exactly. So it's a square of the number of users, or the nodes.
So the 2 is up in the exponent, but the n is not. So
okay.
It's not exponential.
Okay.
Mathematically speaking.
It's big growth. It's big growth.
Yeah, it's a vision thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's terrific.
And it was a surprise. We built the internet, and then we were surprised by how much value there was and how powerful it was.
You would sort of imagine it being additive or something like that.
But then suddenly, bam, you've got Zoom saving us from COVID.
Yes, absolutely.
Boom, 50 years later.
All of a sudden, exactly. At least for those of us that have digitizable jobs, like I know you, professor, we could just immediately go online, and it took us 2 weeks.
Good point.
You know, yeah. Mexican restaurants, it was harder to digitize.
And ditches will have to go undug.
Yes, exactly. So that, sort of the quandary of that. Well, so you were just on this panel, and it was officially about the COSM architecture and blockchain. But what if you were going to sort of distill at least what you wanted to say in the panel, what would it be?
Well, it was an unruly panel. But we were to comment on the future of the internet, and our moderator Dan stressed he was worried that the future internet would serve itself rather than the human beings that was intended to serve.
Right.
And he kept making that point, and then my point was that what I tried to make is that connectivity is a thing, a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And now the internet's 52 years and 12 days old.
Yes.
And that impact is enormous. Now, some of the impact is negative.
Of course, any technology is going to have
So
ups
you
and downs.
heard questions from the audience about fake news. A couple of people complained. Well, that's one of the pathologies of connectivity, which we're figuring out. We will figure it out.
Yeah. But we're networking people, and so you still got human beings out on the ends, obviously, and so that's going to have great potential. But also
actually,
peril.
we have more than human beings on the end. We now have things. We have things on the end, and there are many more things than there are humans.
No, it's absolutely extraordinary, and I guess my sense is because humans, we're social creatures, and so just as we work together in tribes or in cities and countries, we're new ways to work together globally, and that's going to have, I think, that's incredible promise.
So
but
some
also
people
peril.
think of like Zoom as something that separates people.
Yeah.
But I think of it the other way.
Right.
It brings people together in circumstances where they ordinarily wouldn't get together because of logistics.
Well, and that's the key, I think. I think people sort of imagine that it is supposed to entirely substitute for in-person interaction, but there's no reason to think that. Just as you said, in COVID, we were in a situation where we couldn't meet in person. And so if we hadn't had that, it would have been, if anything, much, much worse.
So a big question right now is, are we going to go back to a time where Zoom or Zoom-like things are used intermittently, or have we learned something? Has COVID, one of the silver linings of COVID has been to show us that we now have the internet with Zoom available to us, so we don't have to get on airplanes and hotels and rental cars and all that stuff.
No, that's right. And so and I don't think that doesn't completely erase the desire for in-person conferences like this. But there's
it's a major finding.
I think that's
I keep interrupting you.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
all right.
But it's a major finding that if you can get people together in person a little bit, then thereafter they can communicate electronically with much higher productivity because they at least had that initial exposure.
That's right, but you don't have to do everything like that, especially if it's a 15-minute meeting to fly across the country for.
I had 18 freshmen in a course I just taught, and I realized at the end of the course that not one of them had ever been to Austin, Texas, which is...
Wow, right, with UT.
Yeah, so they're there now, so I'm hunting them down. I want to see what they look like.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the one thing that I discovered is that students can't sit on the back row. They're all in the front row when you're on Zoom, right? If you make them turn the cameras on.
Well, you have to make them turn the cameras on.
Yes, of course.
Some don't. Some consider that a violation of their rights.
That's right. Well, you're getting ready to be on another panel about the future of Silicon Valley, and that's supposed to be a theme of COSM 2021. Is it boom or bust? I mean, what's your sense of where things are going here in the next 10 years or so?
Well, Silicon Valley is a startup ecosystem. It is the startup ecosystem. It's the epitome of them. Austin, Texas is another one. Bellevue, Washington is another one. And the time constants of those ecosystems are very long. So, for example, the boom town that is now Austin got started in 1954 with the first university spin out in Austin, Texas. So Silicon Valley is currently under attack by California. California is just grossly a mess, and poor Silicon Valley is in the middle of it. But it takes a long time for things to happen. So my hope is that California will recover before it fully destroys Silicon Valley.
Yeah, or is replaced by Austin and some other places that are much friendlier.
Well, people are migrating from California, from Silicon Valley to Austin. It's not as if Silicon Valley is going to die anytime soon. But if this goes on for 20 more years, then Silicon Valley will be a thing of the past.
Well, do you have a sense that, of course, as there's these massive network effects over literal networks, that there are these network effects in particular physical locations? It doesn't seem to be a coincidence that you get concentrations of people in these particular places. And
right. So the rise of the interactive video internet would allow Silicon Valley to dissipate more quickly. Because you have alternative.
No, exactly.
Because I remember John Doerr, one of my heroes, famous VC, he said he only invests in companies within an hour drive of his office. Because he had to go to the board meetings.
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
And now he can do that anywhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so there was a recurring theme in this panel that you just had, and I think it was over artificial intelligence and AI, but the thing I was wanting was the difference between the ordinary AI that we experience, philosophers call it weak AI, and this kind of scientific vision of strong AI where the computers sort of wake up and kill us all. And I'm wondering if you have thoughts on, is that sort of science fiction vision causing people to, it bleeds over into an assessment of the actual AI that we're experiencing or likely to see anytime soon?
There's a movie, and I think it's in the 60s. It's called Colossus, the Forbin Project. And it's about the United States and the Soviet Union each having AGIs. And eventually, by accident or somehow, they got connected and achieved critical mass. So they became an uber intelligence, and they took over the world. And the movie ends with the robot saying, "In time, you will learn to like us."
You see enough of those things, though, and that sort of gets in your mind. And I honestly think sometimes we don't even focus on the likely real problems that we could have, and we worry about these really kind of metaphysically high-flown.
Well, Peter Thiel, who gave a great talk yesterday, did not answer the question. Why does the AGI want to kill us? Why does it want to kill us?
Yeah, we're already.
Why would it want to?
Yeah, why would it want to? Yeah. So what exactly does that mean? No, absolutely. And I think that's what makes this COSM conference always fascinating, though, is that George likes to bring he likes to bring technologists and engineers and investors and philosophers together. It makes it a lot of fun.
It does.
It's good to see you, Bob.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
This is Jay Richards. We're at COSM 2021.